What's up, y'all? Peace. What's good? How y'all doing? Today is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. I pray this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. And obviously, if you're with me, I feel like you're in a good space. Um, I'm doing well, and I'm happy to have you guys here with me. I know it's kind of late on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. It's 8:20 here, 8:22 to be exact. And I didn't mean to start this late. I had a last minute call that kind of took my energy somewhere else. And I actually planned on doing this earlier today, but a couple of things got in the way of me doing so. And so I was like, let me just do it tomorrow. And then I was like, nah, let me do it today because I told everybody that watched the live yesterday that I was going to do it today. And yeah, so I said, let me just, come in and chop it up with my folks. And plus, the other live that I did the other night, I started pretty late too, and we had a pretty good turnout. And so I'm good with that. But what's up? How y'all doing? Peace to Meta. Peace, Kim Folk. Peace, Underground Wall Street. Peace, Baron Foxworth. He said, I tune in anyway, but I'm especially here for this title. I'm glad somebody else is speaking up. Yeah, it's definitely necessary. What's good? I'm here. Kiseros, Kisser Sos. Peace and love. What's good? How you doing? Let me see who else is here in the chat room. Okay. Yep, I got all of you guys. Yeah, and I know I tried to start the live a few minutes earlier so everybody could kind of chime in, and I let everybody know on my different channels that I am live. And let me just find some appropriate frequency music in the background to help me to stay in alignment with the energy that I'm trying to convey in this message. I know this is a touchy subject. I know people get in their feelings when it comes to this topic. Anytime I talk about this, people always warn me about how, this could potentially bring negativity on me. But my audience knows that I am no stranger to talking about things that many, if not most people, won't talk about. I know how to have an intelligent conversation about a difficult topic. Why did I just do that? How to have an intelligent conversation about a difficult topic without being disrespectful and doing so with love. And so that's what we're going to do today. And anybody who's tuned in who might be thinking, what gives me the audacity or who put me in a position to talk about this? Being a mother is what gives me the audacity. And living the life that I have lived, and I'm so grateful that I lived in the world before social media. I lived in the world, where a lot of things that are being normalized now were not normalized, wouldn't even be inappropriate. Like, we're not normalized. Even for me to express that wouldn't be appropriate. Even the title "Leave Straight People Alone." Like, when I thought about that, and it explains exactly what we're going to talk about today. But even when I thought about the irony of that title, it's just a fascinating thing that as a civilization, the human beings that we are to this point, that I need to sit down and have this conversation. There's a video by a singer. His name is David something. I can't remember what it is. He was on the Joe Budden podcast, and I think he's a singer. I'm not really familiar with it. I only know of him because he's always on the Shade Room for different reasons. They post, him, and so this is how I even know who this person is. This is how I saw this clip, which inspired this conversation, among many other things. And so, me representing women, real women, who have the biology to produce children, who have the emotional bandwidth to love men, and the emotional bandwidth to give birth to both sexes, and to love and to nurture and to cultivate, humanity and human beings as we know it. I feel like it's my responsibility. And then being a mother, and then being a Black woman, and then being a student of history, and then being a student of Satan. And when I say Satan, we don't have to argue about Satan is a real thing. I'm talking about a bandwidth of consciousness. I'm talking about an energy, a frequency that is running rampant on our planet. I have said many times that Satan came from behind the curtain in 2020. And so a lot of what I'm going to talk about is going to be kind of, an aspect of that, but then even bigger than that. And it's important for me to say that because, whether you identify as LGBTQ or not, and let's be clear, I do have, followers who identify, I've had clients who identify as LGBTQ. You are all welcome here. It's all love. I'm not going to stand for any silly, disrespectful comments in the chat room. Although you have to excuse me if I can't, I'm not monitoring it, because monitoring the chat room will take me off of, sort of the points that I'm trying to make at times. And so, but I will try to be cognizant of what's happening in the chat room. But I want to say that I want to have this conversation with love, right? This is not about judging your lifestyle. This is not about judging your choices. It's about looking at the bigger picture and looking at the games that are being played on all of us. Because, as Chris Brown so eloquently said, these hoes ain't loyal. And when I say these hoes ain't loyal, I'm talking about the United States government in particular. They are not in the business of actually supporting and inspiring and contributing to the health, the well-being, and the upward mobility of anybody in particular, including that community. And so if we see an agenda by said powers that be, where we can see a consistency of support and backing for that particular community, then even the people in the LGBT community should be stopping back and pausing. I know it's Pride Month. I spoke in one of the recent videos about the New York mayor, who is obviously very popular right now. They just passed a $15 million bill for gender affirming services and whatnot, and that's something I kind of earmarked. I didn't add it to our conversation today, but I mentioned it recently, and I'm mentioning it now because, again, anytime you see these people intentionally pouring and funneling money into any particular subset or demographic, there is something bigger at hand. So I'm going to try to talk in a way where I can navigate the algorithm so that this video doesn't get flagged. There's nothing about this that's going to be considered HATE speech, but we need to start having real conversations about real shit that's going on and not being afraid to say the things that people won't say. And luckily, thankfully, I am, and I have been one of those people for the last 15 years that I've been doing this. So I like the fact that you guys appreciate and support that I am sticking my neck out to say something that a lot of people won't say or don't say. I'm going to show Boosie was talking about one of these female influencers or reality TV chicks created a line of thongs for men, right? And he's like, why aren't any women talking about this? And if I had $1 for every time I heard somebody say that shit, and it's always about something that I've been talking about for a long time. So if you guys appreciate this message, make sure you show some reciprocity. My Cash App information is in the description. My website information is in the description. Ways to contact me, all of the things. Let's take this a step beyond just giving me a high five in the chat and actually put your loyalty and support behind me putting my neck out to, or sticking my neck out to have this conversation. So I got a lot of things to talk about. I have videos like I did in the other video where I just have a collage of videos. I didn't upload them in the studio because I find that the buffering is less and the system kind of moves a lot smoother when I just, upload the video and then show it to you and then come back and then just kind of navigate between. So just be patient with me as I move through these different videos and this different content that I want to share. And thank you guys so much for being with me. I know it's late on the East Coast. If you tap in with me, let me know where you are chiming in from. We probably got some people from the around the world as well. I want to read this passage as you guys do that. And of course, I'm in Los Angeles, originally from Oakland. I'm a Cali girl through and through. I've been in LA for 5 years. I lived in Atlanta for 5 years. And then before that, I was, born and raised in Oakland. So I have lived in three predominant cities, three major cities. Well, Oakland, I wouldn't, San Francisco is more so of like the LGBTQ capital of the world. The Oakland that I grew up in didn't have a large population of outwardly, homosexually identified, if that's the right language. I mean, just grammatically, people when I was growing up. San Francisco did. And of course, as time moved on, Oakland became more gentrified, et cetera, et cetera. It has, kind of morphed into what a lot of the major cities have become now. I wouldn't say Mecca. Oakland is a Mecca for the LGBT community. I think San Francisco is much more of a Mecca. Obviously, Atlanta is a major Mecca for the LGBTQ community. And then there's a very large population of LGBTQ people here, particularly in West Hollywood. You go down to Palm Springs, all of the things, right? So again, just to reiterate for those of you guys just coming in, this is a conversation that's going to be had out of love. I'm not going to allow any disrespect of, people who identify under those categories in the chat room, but I'm also not going to allow people who identify under those categories to be disrespectful. And that's one of the things that provoked me, or that inspired me to have this conversation today, is that I'm seeing a lot of disrespect from people who identify in that culture. And I'm just kind of stepping back and like, wait a minute, what, you know what I mean? What are we doing here? So that's where I chime in. Real quick, I want to share these particular statistics just to give this context. Surveys in Western cultures find on average that about 93% of men and 87% of women identify as completely heterosexual, 4% of men and 10% of women as mostly heterosexual, 0.5% of men and 1% of women as evenly bisexual, 0.5% of men and 0.5% of women as mostly homosexual, and 2% of men and 0.5% of women as completely homosexual. An analysis of 67 studies found that the lifetime prevalence of sex between men, regardless of orientation, was 3 to 5% for East Asia, 6 to 12% for South and Southeast Asia, 6 to 15% for Eastern Europe, and 6 to 20% for Latin America. The International HIV/AIDS Alliance estimates a worldwide prevalence of men who have sex with men between 3 and 16%. Now, let me come back to something that was said here, because it makes me think of a video by Young M.A. I meant to save that, but I forgot. I have a lot of, you guys can see, I have a lot of stuff in Chime, ready to talk about videos and content. The point where it says, on average, that about 93% of men and 87% of women identify as completely heterosexual, 4% of men and 10% of women as mostly heterosexual. This is the Fugazi and the Jedi mind tricks. And this makes me think of Young M.A. saying, as a woman who is obviously presenting in a very masculine appearance and, identifying in some capacity in her mind as a male, and she said that she only messes with straight women, right? And then when Shay, what's his name? Club Shay, when he responded to her and basically was like, yeah, but you know what I mean? That means you're gay. And she was like, no, I'm not gay. I'm a rapper who, just the language that she was using. And I just was like, straight women or heterosexual women, let me just write this down so I don't forget. Straight women are not attracted to women. You might be bi-curious. Maybe you had a bi-curious span when you were in college. You might be bi-curious in terms of you've always wondered what it would be like. You had a one and done, or bisexual, where sometimes you enjoy both sexes, but straight women, heterosexual women, are not attracted to women. I don't know why that is so difficult to accept. I don't know why that is so difficult to explain. I have a friend, who we talk all the time, and he talks about everybody is attracted to the feminine, right? And when he says everybody, meaning men and women, everybody is attracted to the feminine. And I agree with that, but that doesn't necessarily equate to women, right? There are attributes and characteristics of women in particular, the loving, nurturing, beautiful, wholesome element that could apply to. I can see a woman that is physically attractive or got a nice body. You can tell she works out, and give her a compliment and tell her, oh, your shape looks nice, or you look beautiful, sis, and not actually be physically attracted to her, where I'm interested in anything beyond just giving her a compliment. There's no sexual energy. There's no physical attraction, right? It's just, hey, sis, I see you. Salute, right? So I really need to say that and emphasize that. And when I have that conversation with him, we talk about that as well. Like, yeah, no, all women are not attracted to other women. Maybe a lot of women in modern society, but I've never seen a woman and felt any tingling or any, any stimulation. I've seen men. I've only had that type of feeling in terms of just physical attraction based on just seeing you and seeing something in you, and where I have an actual physical attraction, right? And even that, I'm more so mentally attracted before I can even be physically attracted, right? So there's layers to it. But I just wanted to make sure I said that, because again, we're like blurring all these lines now where, it's like, yeah, some things are just a straight line. And please don't misrepresent what I'm saying, because I'm having this conversation like, oh my God, you're way too serious about this. You must be a lesbian. You must like women because you're actually talking about it and it's bothering you. No, I am an intellectual. I am a writer. I am a student of history and a student of humanity. And so the same way I'm talking about this, I just did a video about sports. I've written a history textbook. I've written a book about the scientific intervention in our affairs, in which I talked about the work of Tyrone Hayes, and Tyrone Hayes doing the extensive research that he did on behalf of Syngenta, which was a company that hired him to test their product, which was what they were spraying all of the corn with at the time. The title escapes me. My brain just froze. It'll come to me, but it was the what they were spraying the corn with in order to basically make the corn immune to certain bugs. And my brain just froze. Pardon me. It's actually in my book, but anyway, Tyrone Hayes, Syngenta. And he did these studies on toads, and this is a brother, UC Berkeley, a very prominent, powerful, intelligent scientist, who found that the corn that was being sprayed with Syngenta, this product, excuse me, pesticides, thank you, Underground, that the corn that was being sprayed was changing the male toads. Not only were they now becoming attracted to other male toads, but these male toads over a certain amount of time started to develop the reproductive organs of female toads. And so if we're studying mice to determine what's healthy and not healthy for human beings, and that, that's how most of the scientific studies and hypotheses are developed in all culture, through mice, right? Then the same sort of parallel meaning or perspective behind doing that should and would apply to these toads. And so you are spraying corn, which at this point, 95% of the corn that's being produced in America is GMO. That's why we eat corn anymore. But it's also being sprayed with the pesticide Syngenta, which he did extensive studies. And when he put out his journals with his findings, they threatened his life. I mean, they put this brother through hell. And again, we're talking about Berkeley, which is known as a very liberal sort of upward mobility, but very high status of educational, paradigm and system. Cal Berkeley, one of the finest schools in America. And when he came back with his research, They rejected it. They ostracized him. They tried to lambast him in public, which of course to me legitimizes his findings, right? Also in my book, The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs, I talk about the fact that the runoff excess water from birth control pills and the hormones that are in birth control pills, and then women, using the bathroom and then the water going into back into the water filtration system. The water that we flush down our toilets goes back into the main water systems. That water gets cleansed, goes through the treatment process, and then it goes back into the drinking water and back into the ecosystem of how we produce water, how we produce crops, drinking water, etc. So polar bears, fish, and other wildlife, because they have access to the same water, have also been found now to have male polar bears, male fish, who are now developing female genitalia. This is scientific data, and it's something that I have been perplexed a long time about, why the LGBTQ community is not paying attention to this, why they are not promoting these studies, why they are not sounding the alarm, because this is something that is particular or could particularly be impacting your culture, your community. Maybe you don't know. I don't know. Maybe you will after I, do this video, if you actually watch it, right? I'm one of those people that can watch content and don't have to agree with everything, but still be able to sort of pull the wisdom or the underlying perspective. And I can tell you for a fact that there is a lot of people in that community that identify in the LGBTQ community that do not like the trajectory that we are on. They do not like the programming and the agenda to program children. They were upset about when Target had the whole, Target is trending again because Jay-Z now is, has just done a deal, and everybody's all upset. Jay-Z is messing up our boycott, all of the things. But we didn't really have, and I'm talking about Black people in community, we didn't really have a large backlash when it came to Target producing onesies, and onesies like for infants. They were producing very pro-LGBTQ, clothing for babies, right? And I'm going to show the transgender flag, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But there was also one of the onesies that they produced had a, for trans men who are trying to tuck their sexual organs. And guys, please be mindful of your comments in the chat room. I'm trying my hardest not to get this video flagged. I don't want this to be considered HATE speech. This is intellectual, important conversation about the trajectory of humanity done out of love. And I know how to speak about these things and still, kind of make sure that I'm respecting the fact that we're all human beings. We all have our own choices and decisions. And I'm not here to judge whatever you do with your life. They had a onesie. And so when the males tuck their genitals, they have like certain type of clothing where they can, how a bodysuit for a woman, if you go to the bathroom, you can like unhook it from the bottom, so you don't have to take the bodysuit all the way off. So when you go to the bathroom, it's like an easier process. Well, they also have specific clothing that is geared towards trans men. And I would say they would probably identify them as trans men or trans women, meaning you are a man, born as a biological man, but you identify as a quote unquote woman. I would identify that either as a trans man or a trans person, right? I'll get to that more in just a minute. But they had these onesies that were created with these flaps that are the same as the flaps that they create for actual trans people. That was very disturbing to me. And so I get the reasoning for Black people boycotting Target for, what they, in terms of all the DEI stuff and all of that. I get that. I don't understand why Black people didn't kick up enough dust or any noise for that, because that was extremely disturbing to me, right? So shout out to everybody just now coming in. I read the statistics here, and I was just reminding everybody that, yeah, there are still women that only are attracted to men, that have never had any sexual experiences, with other women. And I'm identifying that because I was talking about young MA and this whole idea that you can be a woman who is, gay, but you don't identify as gay and you're only interested in straight women. And this is one thing that I've had an issue with over the years. We talk about DL men. We talk about men who are, EJ Johnson. I forgot to get that video when he was like, I'm only interested in straight men. There are no straight men that are going to be interested in EJ Johnson. Now, maybe he finds you attractive. You've never been with a man before, and now he's curious, and now you guys do something, but there are no straight men who are going to be attracted to another man, whether he looks like a woman or not. And this is why a lot of what's deemed as HATE culture, where you have situations where violence becomes a part of the equation because you are not identifying who you are and what your sexual anatomy, not what you think you are, but the fact that if you take your clothes off, there's a penis and not a vagina. That's enough to make a man go crazy, right? So let me start with, I mentioned the trans element. So let's start with this. I did an expose about this in one of my original headline news episodes, and I was going through all of the different flags of the LGBTQ community, and I was kind of perplexed about why the transgender flag was pink, blue, and white. Before I do that, let me pull this up real quick so we can have a conversation about homophobia. Defined as fear, hatred, or mistrust of lesbians and gay men. The music is a bit too loud. Okay. Did anybody else have any issues with the music? Nobody else said anything about that. And I asked in the beginning. Well, I turned it down anyway. Fear, hatred, or mistrust of LGBTQ, a strong dislike or fear of homosexuals, especially to an unreasonable degree. Fear, dislike, or hate. And the title is misleading. Yeah, I thought the music was fine because I asked in the beginning. The title is a little and I want the music to be heard. That's part of, but that's fine. The title is misleading, and I've always kind of found it misleading because I don't think for me in particular, I have never had a fear of anybody that identifies as LGBTQ. There's no fear, right? If you said I'm walking down the street as a woman and there's a group of men who look kind of rough and tough, and so I grab my purse, I might be fearful in that situation. If I'm in a bad neighborhood and my car breaks down and the sun is going down and I know I'm in a space that something could pop off, I might be in fear in a situation like that. But just being fear of someone because of their sexual orientation is a real strong mislabeling and representation when it comes to this conversation. And a lot of times we aren't really having constructive conversations because people are scared to talk about this stuff, right? So I wanted to make sure that I gave a sort of definitive definition of what that word actually means. And now let me pull this flag up real quick because I was trying to understand, why is the flag pink, blue, and white? Right? We know the rainbow flag and all the things, and the flag has sort of evolved over the years. And so the transgender flag, also called the transgender pride flag or trans flag for short, is used by people, organizations, and communities to represent pride, diversity, rights, and or remembrance within the transgender community. Guys, please make sure to like the video, share the video, help me to get this active in the algorithm. Its usage is similar to the original rainbow flag, but specific to the transgender community. It was designed in 1999 by Monica Helms and has since been adopted by the transgender community around the world. The design features 5 horizontal stripes of 3 colors in the order light blue, pink, white, pink, and light blue. Okay, so we're clear on that, right? That doesn't really give me any context of why those particular colors, but that's kind of like the base definition that they give. And so I was like, okay, but you're not really like answering my question. I'm trying to figure out why you use or why they use those particular colors, right? And so here we go. Let me just, okay, here we go. So the flag was created by an American trans woman in 1999 and was first shown at a pride parade in Phoenix, Arizona in 2000. Helms got the idea after talking with a friend, Michael Page, who had designed the bisexual flag the year prior. Helms describes the meaning of the transgender pride flag as follows. The stripes at the top and bottom are light blue, the traditional color for baby boys. The stripe next to them are pink, the traditional color for baby girls. The stripe in the middle is white for those who are intersex, transitioning, or consider themselves having a neutral or undefined gender. Question: what the hell does baby girls and baby boys have to do with how you identify yourself sexually? Sexually, way of life, whatever you want to call it, sexual orientation. What the hell does baby boys and baby girls have to do with this flag? It is a problem to me. It is a problem for me. And then when you go look, because I did a whole breakdown of this in one of my headline news episodes where I was trying to like, okay, well, give me some more information, at least make this make sense, right? There is nowhere, anywhere that I searched where they were like, here's why we use pink for baby girls. Here's why we use pink for baby boys. There's no actual explanation. So I think the implication, and since they don't tell you directly, then it is the onus is on me and anybody who is looking at this. The implication is that these are people who were born this way. Okay? And the irony is that there is a very large number, and this is becoming more and more of a thing, of people who go through and have their sexual orientation by way of surgery, right? They go ahead and make those moves to get chopped and snipped and hormonal changes and all of the things, and then they end up having buyer's remorse. And then they end up regretting that. And then they end up regretting that way of life. And so let me continue. Actually, we'll start with this video. Let me show you guys the video that originally kind of ticked me off a little bit. And when I say ticked me off, again, don't play with me. You know what I mean? Like I'm an intelligent woman. I know how to express myself, and I'm not mad at gay people. And we can come together and have a conversation, and then I'll sleep well tonight. I'm not going to go around and be, upset and mad at people. Like, this is not something I'm wearing on my sleeves every day. We're having a conversation about something that is active and happening in our communities and in the culture, in American culture in particular. So this is the video, and this guy's name is David something. It escapes me. One of you guys will know who this is. He was on the Joe Budden podcast, so I'm gonna play this video. And this was the thing that was like, no, I need to address this, right? The context of being a straight man versus a heterosexual man.
Straightness, that's a performance.
I'm too high for this one.
Nah. Get some water.
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah. Straightness and whiteness, they're sisters. They're constructs. It's a label for you to perform. Also, when you think about certain boys that are raised, they're not raised how to be decent human beings. They're raised how not to be like girls. They're taught to hate anything that's feminine, anything that's soft, and that, anyone that expresses emotion that is soft. And also that rage and anger are also emotions. It's a lot of conditioning that has happened that hasn't allowed, especially us as black men, to just be human beings. You have to perform.
Yeah.
Your value is contingent upon what you do versus who you are.
I
So
understand that.
when you can rest well in yourself, what somebody else does with their private parts ain't stressing you out, you're not trying to perform, that's a heterosexual man. But when you are straight, it's rah rah, I hate women, homies over hoes.
So here's my thing. This is why, you could tell people are scared to talk about certain things, because in a group full of men, not one man contested this. And I didn't watch the whole thing, so just to give context, maybe I missed it. Maybe somebody did respond with an intelligent question. But these are all men that have probably at one point or another identified as a straight man, right? So here's my thing. How is it that in 2026 now we can have the gay community or the gay culture come forward and start to recontextualize words and names that we have been using for my whole entire life? And if whiteness is a construct, blackness isn't. So there's a lot of, you know what I mean? There's a lot of like the performative element in terms of boys not, being sort of nurtured to not be like girls and ... and all of the things. And I get that, because there is a very prominent element to culture, to society, to civilization. I mean, in China, they had a one-child policy for the longest. And in all societies, and I'll say all tongue-in-cheek, I'm just talking about in prominent modern-day society, it sometimes is looked down at that about having a girl. I prefer boys, right? Especially for men in particular, right? There is an element to modern culture where this is relative. But there is also, when we raise, when I was raising my son, and he was a boy, and I'm emphasizing boy, meaning he was rough and tough. You know what I mean? He was jumping off the refrigerator and just going for broke, right? He was just a hardcore rough boy, right? And I didn't instill that in him. I wasn't like, I want you to be tough. I want you to play with trucks. I want you to play with He-Man over a doll. Now, I never bought him dolls, but when we went in the toy store, he chose his own toys, right? And so there are aspects of, the sort of natural inclination that we have, right? I was a tomboy. I've always liked sports, but I also played with dolls. You know what I mean? I also like to play in makeup. I also like to play in hair. I used to braid hair when I was really young. I was really good. I could have really been a serious professional hair braider if I had stuck with it. But I just had a natural inclination to do hair, right? And there are some boys or some guys that might have that same quality, but stop making it seem like the natural inclination for boys to play with trucks and for girls to play with dolls is something that society has sort of, forced upon us. A lot of this is I had a natural, and girls have a natural inclination to take care of boys, right? Our cousins, our nephews, the relationship between a girl and her papa or her granddad, or the relationship between a girl and her father is different than the relationship between a boy and his father. Girls bring out the softness in men. Girls bring out the emotional, capacity in men, right? I'm a mother of a boy. Like, the relationship between a mother and a son is a very special thing. I have, through my nurturing and raising and rearing my son, been teaching him about how to navigate and deal with women and choose women, right? So there is a natural element and inclination, and not to mention the biology, not to mention the fact that when a woman's or girl's cycle starts, her body is naturally, organically preparing her to be a mother. When a man's testosterone kicks in, when he goes through puberty, when he ejaculates, there is a natural biology that is sort of, and then not to mention testosterone, not to mention estrogen, right? So you guys aren't going to play in our face and act like, you know, in the natural order of things, that they're just not some things that are sort of authentic to being a girl, authentic to being a boy, authentic to be a man, authentic to being a woman. Now, do the modern constructs of society pervert all of that? Hell yeah. That's why we're having this conversation, right? So again, I beg your pardon. Now straight has a new term because who said? Now you're differentiating the difference between straight and heterosexual. No, I identify as a heterosexual straight woman. One of those words is just more so for the collective conscious in terms of how we speak every day. And then one of those words is more so a label that has a direct description and definition in terms of psychology, in terms of culture, in terms of physics, in terms of biology, etc. Right? All right, cool. I'll tap in with you guys in the chat room in just a little bit. I just want to kind of get into the nitty gritty of this, and then we will kind of, you know, go from there. Make sure you guys like the video, please. Help keep me in the algorithm. Where is this video of this dude? And yes, I said dude. Here's two. Okay, here's one.
Week's interview, when that conversation went viral, what were people saying?
She said, well, do you only know gay men? And I was like, no, I don't date gay men, because gay men don't date me. You know, she said, well, what is he, if he dates you, is he straight? I was like, he identifies as straight. Like the men that date me identify as straight.
But didn't you say he's straight?
I said that that's what they identify as.
Right.
But then she said, well, if he's this and that, I said, well, he might be bi or he might be pansexual. Like there's
or curious.
Okay, Nene, I understand it from the perspective. Does it make it right what you're saying? Maybe not. But I understand you saying, well, I don't want to be with no man that's been with you. Because even I have had those views as a trans woman that when men like me and other men, I'm like, hold on.
We have to create an atmosphere where both parties can have a conversation, where both parties can be honest with one another. And I do feel like when a man says, I'm attracted to T.S. Madison, to a woman, or to a man, oh, you're this, you're that.
Black women need to take accountability for the role, okay? When I say the role, that means the role that they play in the DL.
But but that's what I was just saying.
Correct.
Yeah.
But they don't want to hear that because they heard the word black woman and accountability. Oh my God.
They ate you up.
You start saying black woman and accountability.
They ate you up.
Oh, it's time to fight. Black woman, accountability. Why? What the f do I need to be accountable for? You a man, and a man,
stay in a man's place.
You are staying a man, and that's the problem.
Men, be honest with your women.
Immediately.
Be honest with what you like.
Yes.
Women, create a safe space for your man to tell you the truth so you have the choice on how you participate, and don't blame all of us actors in the movie who are showing up and playing our part.
Listen, let me tell you something why I never, ever really get mad at homophobes and transphobes. Baby. You see it again either in your kids. You see it again either somewhere down the line.
Your husband comes out.
Something happens.
Where do I even start? You know, sometimes you hear things, you know, they say, you know, when you be careful when you arguing with a fool, because from a distance, nobody can tell who's the fool and who's the intelligent person. Sometimes I hear things that are just so outlandish and that just don't make any sense that I just almost feel like I am lowering myself by even addressing it. Now, peep the contradiction, excuse me. He said, and yes, I said he said that the men that are interested in him identify as straight. So he is identifying whatever that means in his mind. Then when we go back to the previous video, he said that straight men represents the performative aspect of masculinity. That's like rah, 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 you know, I'm straight, hear me roar. And that it is a construct like whiteness. Could you guys please get together and get your labels and your story correct? so that we can all have a better, proper understanding here. And what the hell does black women don't take accountability? What's with all of the, you know what I mean? Like, you see how he turned up when he started talking about black women and black women not taking accountability and the whole DL thing. And like, how did we become responsible for that? So you're alluding to black women who are in relationships with men who are on the down low, and you're blaming them because they allegedly know, even though if they're on the DL, that means down low, that means that they're hiding it, that they're not out, they're not being honest and living in their truth. Why are black women to blame? Let me continue.
People are jealous of your confidence. And some women, and I don't want y'all to get mad at me because I love all women. I feel like some women,
I didn't say this,
come to the conversation with their own insecurities. Just hilarious. And let me just start by saying this because I don't think like, oh, he's being messy.
And here's the thing, I actually was in agreement with her in the beginning. You know that we talked about that. I was in agreement with her when she was saying about females having autonomy over womanhood. Mm-hmm. Like, they're females, of course. My thing was the verbiage. Trans women exist. Mm-hmm. Trans men exist. Mm-hmm. And they are born female, just like trans women are born male. Gender and sex are different. Mm-hmm. And so I can't help that you don't want to understand that, especially when you're occupying spaces where so many people occupy.
Do you think that she's been homophobic on the radio?
I think that she's taken every opportunity that she has had to jab at a trans person, it's particularly me, because she also knows that if you jab at me, I'm coming back. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't hit her first. Mm-hmm. I never did. But they made this thing out like that I attacked her. And it's like, no, homegirl, watch your mouth. I don't give a because you no black woman. You not finna just, and that's the accountability part. Lots of women feel like that they should, and because they see me as a man, and they feel like that they have the right to do everything and anything to a man, and a man does not have the right to respond. I would love to have sat down and had a conversation with Jess before it got this nasty.
Yeah.
Because it's nasty now. Now she's in a place of he and him and sir and doing all this stuff to me. And it's just like, listen, boy, find you somebody to play with.
Who you're calling her?
Listen, boy. Find you somebody to play with, because that day when she got on the Breakfast Club, like after she was doing all that stuff to me, like she was jabbing me on Halloween. She jabbed me another time. And the moment that I respond to her, then it's, oh, T.S. Madison don't like black women. No, you didn't see this.
Jess is going to keep calling you out on that platform. You need to be given
But
opportunity.
see, this is the thing. I'm going to read you to death. I'm going to say all type of vicious, nasty, vile things to you that might make you raise up out the seat to pop me. But you better sit down.
Oh my God, hearing this shit makes my head hurt. So, first of all, the fact that he led with women being jealous. There may be some women jealous of T.S. Madison's platform, right? Maybe T.S. Madison has made a lot of money in his career, and so there's a jealousy element to that. Maybe they're jealous of his personality and, if he's funny or he's charming or all the things. I don't really watch his content. I just, see him like all of us. Like I would have never even seen this if it wasn't for Hollywood Unlocked, right? And I follow Hollywood Unlocked, and I actually like Jason Lee. I think he's dope. He is a gay man, but again, the point that I was making, this is not about judging people based on their sexuality. It's all love, right? But women aren't jealous of you because of your appearance. Women are jealous of you because you're more feminine than they are. And E.J. Johnson had that same sort of like air about himself, that women are, somehow jealous. Again, they might be jealous of your fame. They might be jealous of what you had, but they're not jealous because you identify as a woman or because of your hair or because of your gown or, anything that could be considered as feminine attributes or feminine traits. It's just a flat out lie. Now, a trans man might be jealous of you, right? Or somebody in the LGBT community in terms of those subsets might be jealous of you. And then he goes on to say that women have an issue with men, and, you know, because they consider him a man, that they think they have a right to, you know, discuss everything in terms of man and question and call men out. So now you're back posturing as a man and using that as a reason why women see you a certain type of way. Bro, make up your mind. And there are a lot of silly ass women, and I said this in my previous video now, that are just like, I just don't like men. Yeah, those women are not what I would consider top tier heterosexual straight women, because, and I'm identifying top tier because I don't understand how a straight or a heterosexual woman could ever out of her mouth say she doesn't like men. That shit just doesn't make sense to me. I really don't understand how any woman can say that. You don't have a daddy? You don't have a grandfather? You don't have uncles and cousins? You don't have the nice guy at the Wells Fargo who helps you every time you go in there, the security guard who's nice and opens the door, your professor who helped you in the 9th grade or when you were in college? You don't know any good men? That shit's weird to me. So don't posture in 1 minute as a trans man or woman or whatever, and then in the next minute try to take this position like, yeah, and you just don't like me because I'm a man. Shit doesn't make any sense. As far as Jess Hilarious, you know, I remember that whole thing. She's not somebody that I would even take up for. I think she's a dope comedian, and she's done too much weird shit to me. The whole thing with her son, she was naked on the cover of a magazine, and she did a photo shoot with her son, and it was like very strange. And she never came forward and was like, yeah, that was kind of weird. I shouldn't have did that. She still stands on that to this day, as far as I know. So that was weird. And then she also recently did an interview where she was saying she had a bisexual experience. You know, she's not gay, but she had a bisexual experience with a female because she looked like Lil Wayne. Like, yes, it's not, I've never seen an attractive enough woman that I was like, I might give that a shot. I might be willing to have a different type of sexual experience because you look like a dude. Again, and nothing wrong with that, no judgment. But as a woman, it takes a certain level of testosterone. It takes a certain level of physicality. It takes a certain level of mindset, of energy, of consciousness, right? Of perspective, of pheromones. My pheromones don't get activated by women. It takes a man. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Thank you for the reminder. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. I feel like this is a good conversation that needs to be had. And those of you guys that are like, yes, we need women to talk about this and all of the things, nobody's talking about this. Make sure you guys support my work. Cash App information is on the screen. The information is in the description for my membership channel, as well as working with me on a one-on-one capacity, as well as contacting me. And yes, I do appreciate the time and the energy and the reciprocity. And let me see, where do I want to go with this now? Let's see. Hang on. I got a lot of videos queued up, so let me just make sure. Let's do this. Mr. Eric Benet.
What's going on, y'all? This is Eric Benet. And on today, I am rocking my BU Rainbow LGBTQ t-shirt. Support my gay community out there. What's going on, y'all? Gay Pride Month. I support y'all. There's too much homophobic energy out there, if you ask me. Ain't nobody asked me, but I think it's too much homophobic energy. Some kind of trying to put some kind of stanky stigma on it, which is dumb. Like, why would you be the least bit intimidated by a marginalized group that is not your competition? Dummy. Anyway, that's just how I think. I'll take it a step further. I think every heterosexual man should have at least one gay homie. Gay homie is gonna tell you some shit that your straight homies won't, and have insights that they definitely don't for you and your woman. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. Love is love, y'all. Yeah. Ooh-wee.
We live in a time now where victim consciousness is prevalent, and I'm not only, centering this around the conversation about the LGBTQ. Montauk Chia, those of you guys who know Montauk Chia, you should know who Montauk Chia is. I'm always talking about his work. He's prevalent in terms of, or he's been prominent in terms of teaching about Taoism and about the male-female dichotomy in terms of, sexual organs, sexual energy, microcosmic orbit, chi, ... all the things, right? So he did a video about women in the pelvic floor and how if you tighten the muscles in your pelvic floor, that it will increase the vitality in your face and it will keep you looking young, right? And so I'm listening to him. I'm like, spot on. So I'm going to the comments, and all I'm going to say in the comment is, thank you so much for dropping your jewels. Also, yoga is another way to tighten the pelvic floor, right? Because, I'm always promoting yoga. I'm not even thinking anything about this. And then I read the comments, and there's like hella comments from females that are like, oh my God, stop with stop trying to tell women what to do with their bodies. I'm so tired of this male, you trying to control women's body. And I'm just like, shut the up. Again, victim consciousness. So I'm equal opportunity. I don't want to make it seem like this is a thing about LGBTQ. Like, no. But with that point made, right? There's this emphasis on trying to underscore the point that the LGBT community is a victim-based culture. I can assure you, the average straight or straight and or heterosexual male or female is not thinking about what is going on in your life. We are not sitting around the campfire discussing what's happening in the LGBT community. Usually the only time we're talking about it is when it's something that actually affects us. If you want to allow quote unquote trans men or trans men into the bathroom of women, we have a problem. If you want to sell baby infant t-shirts that are pro-LGBT in Target, we have a problem. If you are, as a trans man who describes himself or thinks that he is a trans woman, and you are trying to identify yourself under the same language as a woman, we have a problem. But outside of that intrusion, outside of that projection, outside of that trying to impose your way of life into our modern day everyday life, I can assure you we are not sitting around talking about this. So stop with the projection of, oh my God, everybody is so anti this, anti that. No, we're not. And if you can wear a straight pride t-shirt, if you can wear a gay pride t-shirt, can you wear a straight pride t-shirt? Can you come forward and talk about the benefit and the beauty of the male-female dichotomy? Can you come forward and talk about how powerful and beautiful and wonderful it is when a man and a woman come together, who are the only people that can actually come together and create life? There's a lot of benefits in this society for being pro-LGBTQ. You can get advancements. You can get invited to things. You can get sponsorships. There is a lot of benefit in modern society to identifying as being pro-LGBTQ. This is just a fact. And to the point about an actual woman versus a trans woman, or what you guys identify as a trans woman, and I venture to tell you that there is no such thing. I would appreciate it more if you would identify as a trans person, as a trans, how about we take man and woman out of the equation? Since you were born different, since you feel like you were born in the wrong body, since you feel like, you are not, the sexual orientation doesn't match who you feel on the inside, I think that it would be appropriate to use a terminology that separates you from this. This is what's happening in the woman's body. when a man ejaculates and sperm enters her womb. This is the sperm traveling through the fallopian tubes. And let me just read the point that the passage that I put on because it complements the information that you can see here in visual, right? So next time they ask you what is a woman, it is estimated that a man with a healthy sperm count is 200 sperm at the time of ejaculation. Of that mighty number, less than 150 egg. A woman's body will reject the sperm. Only the highest quality will make it based on her body's rejection or acceptance process. Most based on the quality of the man's sperm, determined by his vibrational countenance, overall health, diet, and state of consciousness, coupled with the same conditions for the woman, these are my words, life begins to form instantly. The constitution of the woman's mind determines the caliber of her womb. This starts to quantify the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual environment that will determine the lifeline of the child. Eye color, hair color, height, body type, genetic traits, they're all programmed in that tiny dot that will soon form into a fetus. During pregnancy, the woman's body goes into manufacturing mode, focused solely on creating the conditions that lend to life, a portal from the unseen realm to the known world. This is why there's no need to argue or compete about womanhood. Trying to one-up the creator with science has already proven to be an epic fail. Y'all gonna experiment yourselves right out of existence. Respect the architect and profound sacredness that is a woman. This is the difference. Argue with God. And if you really respected women, and there's this competitive edge, right? If you just really respected and valued women, then you would feel an obligation to separate yourselves, to identify yourselves in a different capacity, because we are very different. If you have to go and have surgery, if you have, and even women who don't have children still have periods. A lot of these young women and women today are like, I don't ever want to have a child. Yeah, but you still got to go buy maxi pads every month. Right? And so and if you have to have a specific type of surgery, if there's an issue with testosterone, or if there's an issue with, testicular cancer, right? A trans man can get testicular cancer, right? A trans woman can get cervical cancer, right? A trans woman can get breast cancer, right? So if your life is on the line, when you go to the doctor, we're not having this conversation about pronouns. Now we're back to science again. Make sure you guys like the video. Please keep me active in the algorithm. Thank you so very much. I'm very happy to have you guys with me. I know it's either late where you are or it's kind of late where you are. And I wanted to make this point about all the weird shit going on right now, right? Because there's several things that are happening where these people are blurring the line in terms of the identification of how they, there's a lot of weird stuff happening right now, right? Here's one example.
I almost fucked this trans girl.
Oh. So I don't want to play this because he's going to get real raunchy with his language. This is an alleged straight man who is in a conversation talking about he almost has sex with a quote unquote trans man. He says woman, I'm saying man. But then when he went into the process of sexual activity, he reached down, he felt something, and then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Now, mind you, he's surrounded by gay men, if I believe, right? So again, this is why the lines are being blurred, because there's a lot of weird shit happening. There's a lot of weird shit happening with so-called straight women, and there's a lot of weird shit happening with so-called straight men. He would be someone I would identify as a so-called straight man, and I am intentionally using the language of so-called. Let me show you guys another one. Mr. Adrian Bronner is obviously on a world tour of whoring himself out in whatever capacity that he can. So he is another one who is extremely suspect. Let me find the video.
Ever noticed that Dean the Great and Adrian Broner are being pushed by Satanists to force an ideology that it's cool to be zesty? Every streamer is putting on a zesty gimmick. The reason why is because the system knows that this influences the kids, so they make them profit off this behavior, because fame isn't about talent anymore. It's about, can you successfully influence the next generation to be idiots? This is called the blackface tactic, where the people in power separate whiteness from blackness, framing blackness as the lesser than species on social media, making them seem foolish, loud and belligerent, materialistic, and worst of all, zesty. And all this does is influence the next generation that it's okay to do that too. It makes you think it's not corny to act zesty because your heroes are doing it. The people who run the system know that if they can confuse you sexually, they can have control over you. The blackface tactic started in the early 1800s to make us seem foolish, and it's still being used today. So watch what you feed your mind.
So I was looking at this video and I heard somebody in the comments, I saw somebody in the comments say Satan is not real, and it just totally avoiding the point that this young brother is making. And so when I reference the concept of Satan, I'm talking about a frequency and a state of consciousness that is very active in the world right now. And again, anything that the mainstream is pushing is definitely something that needs to be looked at and analyzed. And because we know that mainstream is actively promoting this way of life, everybody, including people who identify as LGBTQ, should be paying attention. And a lot of people in that culture and in that world do not agree with a lot of things that are taking place in modern society. And I'm speaking on their behalf as well. When I talk about weird shit happening in the culture, this is what I'm talking about. And this is somebody that I have, you know, the connection to Michelle Lamy, her, Erykah Badu, Cardi B, Rihanna, Offset, they're all in alignment with this priestess, this high priestess, satanic priestess, Michelle Lamy. But you can see the representation here. Let me drink my tea. And people think that this represents womanhood. People think that this is what a woman is supposed to look and act like. You might as well just be naked. And she's very pro LGBTQ, which she got the right to do whatever she wants to do. But I'm talking about weird shit that's happening, the over promiscuity in everything, right? It's taking all of the walls, it's taking all of the sanctity of womanhood, is sort of moving all of those boundaries around and making this type of weird shit look cute, right? There's more. I said before I was going to start doing videos called weird shit in the culture, but I just don't have the mental bandwidth to be dealing with this type of stuff all the time. It's very exhausting, in particular because these are the women that are getting the support in our culture. These are the women that all the black women now and all our culture just around, everybody's singing a song about scammers and boosters now. It's popular in our culture now. Like I'm so glad I wasn't born in this time. And I ain't saying that to be judgmental because I grew up in the era of Too Short, right? So I grew up in the Freaky Tales era. You know what I mean? But that wasn't the common consensus. We had Too Short, but then there was hell of other conscious rap that balanced the equation so that everybody wasn't on that type of frequency. Now, the majority of these females, these rappers, these even the A-list and B-list black female celebrities now are like co-signing this type of weird shit. If you do that as a woman in your regular everyday life, I guarantee you somebody's going to disrespect you. Somebody's going to grab your ass. Somebody's going to call you out your name. Somebody's going to ask you how much. And then you're going to get mad and go online and talk about all men ain't shit when you're dressed like a whore. This is a men's store. Let me set this up because there's no talking to it. This is the clothing in a modern day male store. And I'm going to show the video. And just for context, I remember when I was living in Atlanta about, what was this, probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And I was looking for some jeans. And, I've got, Black women, we got to find jeans that fit us right? So I have like 4 or 5 stores that have the type of jeans that will fit me right. So Gap jeans, certain jeans fit me good. Joe's jeans, Paige denim. There are certain jeans that we know are kind of like made for our shape, right? I go in all the stores that I normally go in. All of the jeans are skinny jeans. I'm talking about all of the jeans in all of the stores were skinny jeans. If you know about the Tavistock Institute, then you'll understand why at a certain point as a woman, you could not go in any stores from Nordstrom's to Bloomingdale's to Gap to Old Navy and find just regular straight leg jeans. They intentionally made skinny jeans trend, right? And then now all of a sudden, all of our sons and our men are wearing skinny jeans. Okay? So this video is of a male store. And just check out the bedazzle, the sparkles. Why did it pause? Hold on. Let me see. Let me start it over. Everything's bedazzled now. Everything's got glitter on it now. I don't know why that particular video got stuck. You can see it more clear when you can see the original video. Thank you so much, Baran. He said, thank you for not allowing men to be called women and women to be called men. Putting the word trans in front of it doesn't make it so. Facts. Hang on. Nope. Let me just move you because we ain't doing that. Right now, I'm talking about things that are happening in the so-called straight culture that are weird, that are blurring the lines between what an actual masculine man or a real feminine woman would consider as something that is, something that we would all kind of co-sign. Like, yeah, I'm not co-signing none of that weird shit. Stop playing with me. Including hoe culture, including concubine culture, which I've been talking about for 15 years now and been getting a lot of flack for said things. Look at this weirdo. This chick is at SeaWorld twerking with her baby attached to her body. This ain't nothing but content for the professional podcast bros who hate women anyway. So all they do is just comb the internet and look for videos and look for content of Black women making themselves look stupid. And then they make content and they get, those videos, them people make big money in super chats. They get paid big money for exposing the ignorance and stupidity of Black women like this. This is so disrespectful. This is so... why you would put your child in a position? First of all, is the bar even sturdy? Are you even safe? Now, if she fell and busted her head open or hurt the child, then there would probably be a lawsuit against SeaWorld. But this is the dumb shit that I'm talking about. That's like blurring the lines, because I'm assuming she's straight. She got a child, right? Nowadays, you never know. This is the stuff that's actively happening in our culture. Right? We're talking about canceling other cultures. We're talking about boycotting other cultures. Can we boycott this clown shit, please? There's more. This is why I'd be so frustrated, when I talk about like boycott, when I said boycotting is not building, and I don't just mean building like infrastructure and institution. I also mean building the minds and the consciousness and the respectability of our culture. I'm here to establish and to maintain the respectability of our culture, the respectability of Black women, and of being classy and of being You know, you don't even necessarily have to be modest. You know, you can be sexy. You can represent yourself in a certain way, but drop the whole shit. It was people, it was white people in the audience and other nationalities that are looking at this girl. All the black women in the background cheering and hyping her up. All the black women in the comments cheering and hyping her up. But the white people in the other nationalities in the audience, because I'm looking at their faces, they're looking at her like, what is happening? If I was in the audience, I would have been looking at her like, are you out of your mind? No, I wouldn't. I would have definitely said something to her. It just would not have been. I'm not built for that. Or I would have just left to avoid confrontation.
So Taraji P. Henson says that gay black men have always protected black women more than straight black men. Not from AIDS, though. Not from AIDS. They still keep giving y'all the AIDS. They keep having sex with y'all down low.
So I don't necessarily agree with his point about that, you know, because all black women don't have gay relationships with men. A lot of black women just have relationships and friendships with gay black men. So I didn't even really put this in here for his extra little, you know, the DL thing is one thing, but there are black women who have just relationships with gay men that don't have sexual orientation. So put that part to the side. But the part about Taraji P. Henson, and I had the video of that saved. I thought that's what this was, but you know, clearly now that's not what it was. But there is a video of her actually saying that gay black men protect black women more than black men. I've never been protected by a gay black man. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, and she's in her 50s. So she lived in the world pre-internet, pre-social media, right? She lived in a world. I don't, you know what I mean? These people are not qualified, in my opinion, to be purveyors of black culture. You're not qualified anymore to be speaking on behalf of black women at this point, respectfully. It's just how I feel about it. And speaking of celebrity culture, let's just bring this little tidbit of information up. Why are Hollywood's biggest stars raising so many trans kids? Is it something in the water? Is it the evolution of the human species? Is it what's happening here? Right? Dwayne Wade, Magic Johnson, Charlize Theron, Angelina Jolie, if I remember correctly, and don't quote, yeah, her daughter Shiloh, I think. There was like 10 of them. I didn't want to show all of those, all of the images and kind of spotlight each of them. But this is a really big trend now in Hollywood. And as I have continuously said and will continue to say, that Hollywood is Satan's vision board. And so they put it in the films, they put it in the movies, but please don't think that these people are not directly or indirectly being awarded or rewarded or glamorized, right? Just like I said, you know, there are benefits in society to being pro-gay, and there are extreme benefits in the Hollywood circle and in the Hollywood cipher to being pro-gay, right? And so this it might be the environment, right? It might be that it's so acceptable. It might be that I've seen videos that talk about, you know, really like socially awkward people who don't have friends, who are never being accepted or promoted, or right. And then all of a sudden now they identify as LGBTQ, and now they've got favor, and now people are applauding them, and now they are getting this whirlwind of support that they never would have gotten if they were just living in their natural skin. So what is this about? And I have said in previous videos that, you know, the movie is live now, right? It's not just the film industry, it's not just the movies, it's not just the streaming or the television shows. It's also that life has bounced off of the screen now and is actively happening in real time. So if they can get the celebrities to not accept, embrace, but also cultivate environments for their children to lean in a certain direction, it has the same type of impact, if not a greater impact, as if they were just putting the programming in the television shows. Make sure you guys like the video, please. You're watching. How many likes do I have? I don't know how many. Somebody tell me in the chat how many likes do I have versus the amount of people that are watching now. I hope those numbers make sense. I'm seeing people in the comments saying how much you guys appreciate me putting my neck on the line and talking about this because it needs to be talked about. Let's back that up with some reciprocity, family, because you know that I could potentially be opening myself up to a lot of negative energy and a lot of bullshit just by talking about this. And I also know that our culture, and I see people all the time saying, why isn't anybody talking about this? So please make sure that you support the people who do. Why are women talking about the whole culture and how rap music is damaging and destroying our daughters and our culture? I've been talking about that shit for 15 years now. I'm just not getting the support that I should. Thank you so much, Kenya. I appreciate the cash out.
Years of steady growth. American support for LGBTQ issues is falling. That is
okay. CNN, just to set the stage for this. All right. So here we have CNN mainstream. I know my audience knows that CNN is not promoting anything that's not a part of the agenda. None of these media outlets are promoting anything that are not a part of a bigger agenda, right? Okay.
According to a new Gallup poll, which shows a decline in support for same-sex marriage and transgender acceptance among US adults.
This is a time for us to pay attention, but to not run in panic.
She says the current political climate is having a real impact on the LGBTQ community.
Look, I'm a Black queer woman in the United States of America, and even though things are challenging right now, this is still the best that they have ever been.
The survey was conducted in May, and it found that 65% of US adults believe that same-sex marriage should be legal. That is down from a record high of 71% in 2022. It also found that 62% of Americans say gay or lesbian relationships are morally acceptable, and that's the lowest level since 2016. When it comes to transgender issues, support is also falling, with just 38% saying that transition is, quote, morally acceptable, and that's down from 46% in 2021. Gallup says much of the recent decline is being driven by Republicans. Just 37% now say that same-sex marriage should be legal, while Democrats' support for same-sex marriage has remained unchanged since 2022 at 87%, according to the poll.
I've covered LGBTQ rights for years now, and community leaders have told me they're finding this a particularly tough moment.
Yes, there's a fight in front of us right now, but we can't give up, and we won't give up because we know that staying in this fight means that the next generation can have even greater liberties and protections than we enjoy today.
Question, and this is a rhetorical question you guys don't have to answer. Were you included in that poll? He said the amount of support for the trans community is currently at 38%. He's talking about in America. Originally, it was 46%. Were you included in that poll? Did somebody call you? Did you get a survey on the internet? Did you get a survey in your email? Did you go out to Trader Joe's or Sprouts and somebody was standing outside and doing an actual poll? No, because they're just making up random numbers. And Bill Gates is an excellent resource. He's been talking about that book, How to Control People Using Statistics. I don't believe none of this shit. These are arbitrary numbers they throw out, just like they're arbitrarily telling you that Elon Musk is a trillionaire. Really? Is he really? So he has $1 trillion in the bank? Or is his valuation $1 trillion? Thank you so much, James. I appreciate the cash app and the love. So just the fact that they just throw these random numbers out, and this is the fugazi. I keep talking about how their whole game is the illusion. That's what Hollywood is built around, right? And CNN and mainstream news and mainstream media is absolutely a part of Hollywood. It didn't used to be. There used to be a real time when news media would be unbiased, right? And they're not, trying to lead you or sway you anyway. Now 99.9% of this shit is bias. So going back to what I said about victim consciousness, woe is us. Everything is so difficult for us. They're making it difficult for us. But I'm in California. There's the pro-LGBT community here is strong. You go down Santa Monica Boulevard in Hollywood, you are being affirmed and reaffirmed at every turn. There's flags in the window, there's signs, there's neon signs. You are being affirmed and reaffirmed at every turn. In Atlanta, same thing. In New York, same thing. Right? And so when we talk about Republicans, right, and this is the role, this is how the antagonist energy works. Trump's role is to be the antagonist. All right. And so he's coming in and provoking everybody. He's provoking the LGBTQ community. He's provoking the Black community. He's provoking the Latino community. He's passing bills and laws and putting money behind anything that can antagonize and provoke a certain mentality, because that embellishes the victim consciousness. Because for one, if they're provoking and antagonizing and taking away your rights, it does make you a victim. Right? So it's happening in real time. It does actually make you a victim. But again, going back to what I said before, the average person is not thinking about straight men, straight women, heterosexual men, heterosexual women are not sitting around thinking about what's happening in the LGBTQ community. And as a Black woman, there's no signs all over LA that are affirming and reaffirming me and giving me positive, go ahead, yeah, chin up, chest out. I see Black Lives Matter signs, but that shit was a program. I hope you guys know that was a program. I hope you guys know that by them putting Black Lives Matter in large, bold, yellow, they did it in Oakland, they did it in DC, I think they did it in Maryland too. They put Black Lives Matter in the streets and you could see it from like up high. And what the was that about? It's people around the corner homeless. How about you take that $10,000 that you use for that and save some of these single parent households from getting evicted? You could probably save like 2 families and put them in a better. What does having Black Lives Matter painted on the streets do for anybody? A total waste of finances, a total waste of resources. But what is it? It's the antagonizing energy. It's the antagonizing frequency. They want to make the people who don't like Black people mad. They want to make the people that are barely making ends meet of all other races looking at black people like, this is so stupid. We could be using this money for something better. Why are you using this money for this? The way that you guys just used $60 million to build an octagon in front of the White House for a one-day celebration. You talk about stupid use of resources. And then you got Republicans that act like they're on the other end of the spectrum when we know that most of them dudes that are in the Senate and in the White House and most of the Republicans in the political spectrum are the ones who are really DL. There's always a news story that comes out later like, yeah, the guy who was super anti-gay and hated, homosexuals, we got pictures of him now, you know what I mean, in a thong with a dog collar around his neck, getting his ass whooped with a whip and chain. They're all weirdos, the Republican and Democrats. And to go further and make my point, before I show this, let me just show this video because the sister makes a really, really good point. And I want to add on to the point that she makes because she's only talking about Kamala and Joe Biden. So let me just give her moment. Let me find it. Make sure you guys like the video. I hope you are enjoying this content. I hope that you are appreciating that I am talking about the things that everybody keeps saying that nobody is talking about. Right? And, everybody's always like, be careful. They're going to come for you. You're going to get canceled. You must be new to my channel. It's not the first time I've talked about these things. And I'm much more delicate about it now. When I was in my heyday, there's some videos on me online, and of course, never in an antagonistic or mean-spirited type of way. I don't even have that that sort of element to my personality. But in terms of the powers that be and what I know them to be doing, like, yeah, I will take a sword to your ass, regardless of what it's about.
Biden and Harris, they did us a disservice because when they put all these bills, LGBTQ things, everything for the gay community and nothing for the black people, ain't nobody on our side. That's why I said same bird, different wing. I don't give a care about a Democratic or a Republican. Who is doing for the black people? Right. Who is making sure the black economy thrives? Nobody. Everybody needs us.
Let's talk about the structural barriers, though, that black business ownership. I mean, because
now you see how she shifted gears on that, right? So I appreciate her passion. I appreciate what she's saying. I personally am not looking to the government to do anything for black people. And in the same way that we can, hold them accountable for what they're doing or not doing, we can also hold ourselves accountable for what we're doing and not doing. Again, black celebrities who have the ear and the voice of black people more than anybody are not doing anything for your community and culture either. But you'll drop $3,000 on them Beyonce concert tickets. And she ain't doing shit for the black community. Respectfully. She's an entertainer. I don't expect her to do anything. But I'm just saying, I don't expect any of these politicians to do anything either. And they're intentionally, like the point that I was making, whatever it is that they're supporting, whatever it is that they're promoting, there is a very specific reason for said things. So let's get to Mr. Obama. And those of you guys who are in my membership channel, you will recognize this image because I have been screaming from the mountaintops about this particular image for some time now. This is the cover of The Economist magazine from December 2012 to January of 2013. The title is A Rough Guide to Hell. And this image, I know you guys can't see it as clearly. You can pull the picture up if you want to get all of the fine details. There's a lot of stuff going on in this image where they're telling you exactly what they're doing. In particular, this right here, I don't think you guys can see. It's not a good version of this picture. The pixels are small. But here you have a female devil who is, obviously dressed in a very provocative way, and she is running out of the pits of hell, and there's all these little demons and burning alive in this pit of hell. So this represents the promiscuous, over-sexualized representation of women. She got you to jump into the pit of fire, and now she's running out. But that's not the point I want to make. There's so much stuff in this image, but that's just, I'm trying not to get too deep into that. But here you have Mr. Obama. And he is riding on the lake, and guess what his boat says? Pride. Because Barack Obama, his most pivotal role, and he did a lot of things on behalf of the powers that be. What happened in Libya, there was a lot of things that happened during that timeline, but his most prominent and prevalent role was to usher in the wide scale, the large scope acceptance of the LGBT community. And so when you look back at his 8 years, and when you look back a lot of the policies, they were very much pro LGBTQ. So, and I'm not saying that I don't even consider that that's a knock to Obama. No, he's only playing his position. These people do not have any power. If you look closely at this image, the chief devil is right here. He's looking at the whole show. He's got his weather modification machine right here. He's got his little devils right here on the computer who are running the show. All of the major politicians, global politicians, Netanyahu, your boy from North Korea, all the ones who we think are all, anti-American and all of the things, they're all in the swamp, right? So this is the head man in charge right here. He's overlooking all of his work. So you don't have to get upset with me because I'm calling Obama out. He's just playing a different role that he was, it's good cop, bad cop, right? Obama was the good cop. Trump's the bad cop. Biden was the half-dead cop. Biden was ushered in. Biden's role was to weaken the representation of the white male figure. His role was to be dumb. His role was to be limited in his intellectual capacity, and him coming right after the timeline of Obama, and Obama still under control, still playing the position that he played, was intelligent. right? He was, somebody that you could look to and be proud of him sort of representing the United States. If I got to pick between an idiot and an intelligent puppet, I'm going to choose an intelligent puppet. At least like make me feel like, you know what I mean? And I don't have to be embarrassed when I watch you on camera. So all of these guys are playing their image. They're all playing a role. This is why I do not get caught up in the voting and all the hoopla about Republican and Democratic. They're all playing a different position and playing a different role in the bigger scheme of things in terms of where we are and where this country is headed. This is why this is important. They're not pro-transgender. They're trying to usher in the acceptance and the reality of a transhuman being. This is why the lines are being blurred, why men and women are fighting, why men or women, the algorithm is pushing men and women against one another and keeping us fighting. And the podcasts that are anti-women are getting promoted in the algorithms, and the podcasts that are anti-men are getting promoted in the algorithm. And so because, the majority of people at this point, I'm thinking, are NPCs. So all they're doing is looking for the strongest signal to lead them in whatever direction that they think is going to get them the most likes, the most acceptance, right? And the most fanfare. This is to find people with authentic voices that aren't scared to talk about what's happening in the status quo. Very rare. The things that I'm saying right now, y'all just do not understand. Y'all have no idea what it's like to walk in my shoes, bro. Ooh, the things that I am saying right now are so far against the common consensus. Let me just keep going, because it's very difficult to hold this position and to be this forthright about stuff when your own people don't support you. And I ain't just talking about this subject. I'm talking about a lot of things that I've been talking about over years. And I keep hearing people saying, why is nobody talking about this? But you don't support the people who actually are.
You know what I'm saying? That's how that whole thing, where when you really,
wicked.
Yeah, that's always wicked. I let you win all this time. You was feeling good. You was getting away with cheating on your wife. You was getting away with drinking lean. You was getting away with getting high. You was getting away with all that. It felt good. Matter of fact, it felt natural. But now that I got you on a roll now. Last roll. Now you owe the house. That's how Satan works. Yeah, it was Satan who owned the house. Now you owe me. I did all this for you. Look how you was winning. You think I was gonna let you walk out with that?
Bro, that's heavy.
That's how it works, man. You know what I mean? So when we see people go through stuff, it's like you gotta, pray for them and just, be willing to, open up to them. Like I said, I ain't no pastor, nothing like that, but I just been doing it. But I've been reading, man, trying to get myself together.
Floyd Mayweather, I let you win. I let you win for 20 years. I let you fly around on your jets and count money and broadcast and flash all of your money in front of your millions of followers who are barely making ends meet. Jay-Z, I let you win for the whole totality of your career. Kevin Hart, I let you win this whole entire time. That's why I keep saying anything that they're giving screen time to, anything that they're promoting, anything that's being uplifted in television and in movie theaters. You think these people actually are pro-LGBTQ? No, there is a very wicked agenda behind this, and it's all about programming the minds of our children. They're trying to change the dichotomy of our reality, and we can't see it because we're short-sighted. They've been what's unfolding right now has been planned for 100 years now. I mentioned the Tavistock Institute before. If you read the book on the Tavistock Institute, you'll see how they use celebrities, how they use modern culture, how they use programming, how they use television, how they use news networks, how they use clothing to steer the collective consciousness in a certain direction. And you're about to see all of these celebrities, 2026, 2027, they're all about to go through mass humiliation rituals. Watch. Jay-Z his is already started. And he came out swinging with that alleged 13-year-old, situation. And I never thought that was real from the beginning. And I don't know if it was real or not. But he came out swinging. The attorney was talking big shit. He write letters. He's like bold and serious and like forthright about it. He didn't say nothing about his name being mentioned in them files. And I ain't even talking about the part where he could have potentially been involved with, children. I'm talking about the fact that they referenced him as he's the one we turn to when we need to get Black people in check. It's in the files. He didn't come out swinging about that shit. So when they get ready to put the noose around his neck, they're just going to put some information out that's really true. And then we're going to see that he's not going to come out swinging. And then that's when, the humiliation ritual is going to continue to escalate. The algorithm is already working against him. As somebody who was heavily censored for 2 years, I know that if they want to keep your name out of the social media, off Instagram, they can absolutely shut your shit down in one day. People could not find me at all because I was talking about that Jim Jones juice, because I was talking about that pandemic. They shut me down on every platform. If they really wanted to shut him down or to shut anybody down, all they got to do is push a button and it's a done deal. So they let you come out and be like this hero, like, yeah, I got it. I got my swagger back, right? I'm coming back and popping my shit because, this was wrong and this was proven untrue and I'm in lawsuits and I'm in all of this. All right, so what you gonna do when they come out with something that's actually true? Not to mention the fact he didn't mention Desiree Perez in that freestyle. He didn't mention her daughter in that freestyle. I'm not a stan for none of these people. I can enjoy, I'm a fan of Jay-Z's music. I am not a fan of his personality. I'm not, and people are mad about him and the whole Target situation. Like, yeah, if he turned on Dame Dash, what makes you think he wouldn't turn on you? Why are we even looking to celebrities at this point to represent, and this is the other thing. Never in the history of the world, let me just make sure I'm pulling up this right video. Never in the history of the world has any civilized nation looked to celebrities to be their mouthpieces or their thought leaders or the people that were shaping consciousness. Never in the history of any civilized nation has there been so much focus and attention directed on rappers and singers and poets and people that are just supposed to be here to entertain. That's not to say that there haven't been, prominent, highly intelligent the Nina Simones of the world, right? That came and sort of was beautiful in her artistic representation, but that was also highly intelligent, that could speak truth to power. But those are exceptions to the rule. Nobody is looking to their singers and their actors to actually guide the collective consciousness to, we should be for this or against this or speak up for us, except Black people in America. And white people too. I'll say American culture as a whole, but I'm specifically talking about Black people in America, because you say the wrong thing about a certain celebrity and it's all hell breaks loose. And I've done it several times and will continue to do it.
It illegal to call them mother and father. Nate Foy has the details on this. Nate?
Hey, Jackie. So, yeah, New York Democrats argue the words mother and father are outdated and need to be replaced with more inclusive terms under state law. All that's needed now is Governor Kathy Hochul's signature. So if Hochul approves, in New York's family court and in domestic and education law, a mother would be labeled as a gestating parent, a father as a non-gestating parent, and paternity proceedings to determine the child's father would be called parentage proceedings. The bill passed the state Senate this week and the state assembly back in March. Governor Hochul proudly calls herself New York's first mom governor. It's unclear if she'll support this change, though.
I'm not familiar with what was introduced late last night, so I'll take a look at it. I have until the end of the year to review them and make a decision, so I won't be commenting on pending legislation.
New York would join other states like Massachusetts, California, Connecticut, and Colorado to change the definition and wording of parents in their state laws. Democrats argue the bill is necessary to accommodate surrogacy cases and same-sex couples. Now, Governor Hochul's up for re-election this year. Her main challenger, Republican Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, tells Fox this morning this bill is a continuation of war declared on families by Democrats. Jackie?
Nate, thank you.
Well, alrighty then. Where do we start? You see, the push to dismantle the nuclear family is no longer a hidden agenda. It is actively being written into state law. 1 Corinthians 14:33 reminds us that God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. Yet our current political systems are bent on manufacturing absolute chaos out of the most basic biological truths. Look at what is moving through the legislature in New York right now with Assembly Bill 8382. They are pushing to outlaw and replace traditional terms like mother and father on official state documents.
I just need to pause for a moment. Let me just pause for a moment. I need to get my bearings. Is this a good use of it's almost so stupid you can't even, you know what I mean? And mind you, they said 3 to 5 million people are about to show up in New York for the parade for the Knicks. What do I'm trying to find the words without like just going on a full-fledged cussing like but you know you can get away with this in New York if you can get away with offering people burgers for a poisonous shot in their arms. See, this is all leading up to, this is celebrating the NPCs of the world. This is galvanizing the NPCs of New York. Could we get New York to show up for this? It's just so stupid. I can't even. Oh my God. I just don't even know what to say. I just don't even you know what I mean? Woo. It's so stupid again that it's almost like even trying to make an argument against it. Like, what can you say? What is there to say? What is there an argument that even needs to be made? Is it so preposterous that it's just like, I am in hell, clearly. I don't know what is happening here. Speaking of victim consciousness.
On this new high-risk travel warning for the LGBTQ plus community is astonishing. So if you haven't heard, on June 2nd, the 2026 LGBTQ plus risk map was released. It analyzes the safety conditions across 233 countries, and guess what? It found that 91 countries are now classified as high risk. And the countries on that list aren't just where you may expect, like India, Japan, Slovakia. Surprise, surprise, our very own country, the United States, has seen its rankings worsen this year. With it being Pride Month, it is a timely reminder that destinations research isn't just about hotels and flights. It's also about knowing the laws and climate of where you are going. Knowledge is your second best travel companion. Applied knowledge is your best. So before you book that next international trip, Check the LGBTQ plus travel advisories on the State Department's website. Look at the ILGA World Map, which shares exactly how members of the LGBTQ plus community are affected by laws and policies around the world.
You know what they never say? Where'd you get this information from? I do research for a living, and I'm not looking for swayed perspective. I'm just looking for the truth. I just want to find that middle lane where I'm not trying to validate anything that I think. I'm just trying to find the truth. You know what they never say? Where you got this information from. She said 91 countries, including the United States. Based on what? FBI statistics, arrests. Based on what? And I'm emphasizing these things because I really need to have us have more discernment. I cannot get us caught up like we did in 2020, where a lot of people fell for the okie doke. I need us to sharpen our discernment. We need to start thinking like intelligent human beings. Where is this information coming from that says that 91 countries around the world have an anti-LGBTQ sentiment, where people that are going there are not safe? I'm not seeing the videos. I'm not seeing the validation. And that's not to say, people aren't, Jamaica is a place where, you know what I mean? If you a little too flaming there, you might get your shit popped. Pause. It's a situation in Jamaica, and I think we kind of all know that. But they also have a growing LGBTQ population there as well. Where's the proof? Where's the data? This goes back to what I was saying about victim, and if they can put you in that tier of victim consciousness, and I have to say this, and I find myself kind of like, you guys might think I'm over explaining myself, but I know people come in at different points of the conversation, so they may have missed what I said before. Like, I have to say that I understand that there are people who are victims of anti-LGBTQ sentiment. I'm not saying it's not a real thing. But in terms of the statistics of what I read when we first started, in terms of people who actually identify as LGBTQ, the number of those rare instances is not high enough for this to be something that is trending on all of our mainstream topics on CNN and whatnot. This is about victim consciousness. This is about stoking the flames of victim consciousness so that people can better identify. So any victim will identify. Maybe it's a victim of sexual trauma. Maybe it's a woman who is a victim of being ostracized or underpaid or devalued, or maybe she's been through sexual trauma. Maybe it's somebody who doesn't feel accepted and feels ostracized and they don't fit in anywhere. There is a tethering, there is a frequency that people are aligning with when it comes to victim consciousness. And the anti-male, not just anti-black male, but the anti-man sentiment, part of that is rightfully earned. Let's be clear. I need to make sure I say that. Part of that, women being afraid, women being victimized, women being traumatized, women going through, all of the things, like, yeah, that's a real thing. Let's be clear. But they are also using that as a sort of stoking and fanning the flames, so to speak, to keep the news story in the headlines, to keep it trending, right? To keep you identifying, to keep you empathizing. Meanwhile, if they tell you that there's no such thing as a mother or a father, your ass is quiet as a church mouse. So again, leave us straight people alone. You cannot qualify or quantify me as anything other than a mother when it comes to given birth to a son. Every experience that a woman can have in terms of her biological makeup, I've experienced. My body, everything in my body stopped what it was normally doing when I got pregnant with my son, and 100% made my son the focus of everything that my body does. So I'm qualified to say this. I've already done it. I've already proven the science. I have the data. I have the human to prove it.
This in the humblest way possible. All this content creation, this shit I'm doing on the internet, my videos, me, my grandma, all this shit cute. One thing I don't play is when I'm out in public with my nephew. When you see me with my nephew, it's a whole different ball game. I'm damn sure I ain't tolerating no disrespect or no weird ass shit, no negative energy around him, period. Secondly, when you see me at all that hey bitch or ooh girl and all that gay ass shit, that shit out the window. He know how I am. I don't hide who I am from him. He know his uncle is different. He knows me. I know my nephew is very comfortable with his uncle. When I'm out in public with him, all that extra la la, oh yes girl, all that shit, cut that shit the fuck out, period. And it ain't about no weird ass shit like me hiding who I am or being ashamed of anything. No, it's certain shit I just tolerate and I do and I don't do around him. And it ain't no mama, ain't no daddy, it ain't nobody making me want to. Me as an uncle, me as a man, that's what I do. I have certain boundaries and certain principles when I'm with him. Like my nephew knows his uncle is gay. My nephew knows how I dress. And he knows that I love him. Simply, that's all he needs to know. He's a child. But I'm going to tell you what he don't know. He ain't never seen me interact with no other man. He ain't never seen me dancing and twerking, doing none of that, shaking my ass. He ain't never seen me kiss, hugged up with no other man. He ain't heard me talk about no other man sexually, none of that shit. Because that's the way it should be. He's a child. As you can see how I have certain boundaries and I have certain respect for him with him being my nephew. Y'all bitches as my friends, fans, love bugs, whatever. Y'all need to do the same. Not off the strength and respect of me, but off the strength and respect of him. It's sad to say, long story short, short story short, shit can get real ugly real quick when it comes to motherfucking him. So thank you.
This I respect. This is what we need to see more of from the LGBT community. This I can get behind. Pause. This I appreciate. Live in your skin, live your truth, be who you are, but set boundaries around the children. And then use your platform to talk about setting boundaries around the children. Because they are definitely targeting and focusing on programming and changing the dichotomy of the consciousness of the average person. And I know you guys might feel some type of way about me sharing this, but again, the point is that there are a lot of things that are happening in the collective consciousness that are anti-human. We're all supposed to be protecting these children. You know, we always talk about it takes a village. We always, you know, that the African proverb, we say that shit till we blue in the face, you know, but like we don't really have, and Black people in particular, we don't really have a strong focus and intention and sentiment around that. Otherwise, you would have never seen a Black woman at a SeaWorld event with her baby attached to her twerking, not just because of her and her child, but we're at SeaWorld. There are children around you, dumbass. Why are you twerking and putting your ass up in the air? And this is a children's environment and a children's event. And that's something that I really hold Black women accountable for, because if you can stand up and speak out on behalf of the LGBT community, I respect your position and what you support and what you think is right. I don't hear none of these chicks talking about all of this foolish, weird energy and promiscuity and over-sexualization when it comes to the representation and how it's affecting our daughters. And this is something I've been saying for a long time now. And again, I get so frustrated every time I hear people like, oh yeah, no women are talking about it. Shut up. You guys just aren't paying attention to the women that are talking about it because you're so busy trying to prove about the point about what Black women are and what Black women aren't, but that you aren't supporting the Black women that are actually doing the shit. So I don't want to hear it. When is enough enough? This is Boosie, who, you know, I got his issues with him. He a weirdo too, but even a broke clock is right 2 times a day. I didn't really like the whole thing with his son and talking about getting prostitutes for his son for his birthday. Like, that's weirdo clown shit. That's another thing in the culture that is, you know what I mean? Like, this this is when you need to have your microphone taken and sit your ass down. But to this point, and his outspokenness about other things, I appreciate. When is enough enough? When is a woman with a voice going to speak up? I beg your pardon. You see my point? When is another rapper gonna speak up? His spelling is not accurate, but I'm gonna correct this for him. At this point, you might as well tell your son to put a emoji, a eggplant emoji, and blah blah blah. Any man who wears this wants a blah 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 in his mouth, simple blah blah blah, all the things. Okay, so the images of a man wearing a thong dumping a basketball. Do you see my point? Why couldn't he be, doing the gay Vogue dance, or doing something that is sort of acclimated, something that we expect for a man who is openly gay, because that would be the only man that I would expect to wear a thong, and then wear a thong that's actually showing. Okay? And it's weird when women do that shit too. Pull your pants up. Nobody wants to see your ass. I don't care how beautiful your body is. You look stupid. Put some clothes on. At least pull your pants up or pull your shirt down. Nobody wants to see your ass. That's for women. Put a period on that. A bow. Do it what you will. Why wouldn't they use advertising to have this man who is wearing this thong doing something that's a little bit more something that is we would correlate to a gay man? Why are you showing this as a representation of something that we would expect masculine and straight men to be doing? You see the fugazi here? And this is what I'm talking about. And this is why this video is titled Leave Straight Men Alone. Because if you want to make your point about sexuality, if you want to make your point about let people live, if you want to make your point about we can do whatever it is that we want to do, etc., how about you just leave us out of it? Straight people. How about you just leave us out of it? I would really appreciate that. We would really appreciate that. Pardon me, I'm having a text come in from I need to respond to this. Hang on. Give me 1 second, family. So yeah, if you guys have any questions you want to ask me, drop them in the chat real quick. I'll probably give it about 5 more minutes. I think I made my point. I think that I have presented a well-rounded, conversation that was done out of love, that was intellectually stimulating, that was spiritually stimulating, that was reminding everybody that I am a 100% full-fledged woman and I'm not having this weird shit on my watch. I will publicly come forward and talk about it. I will publicly come forward and address men and women, gay, straight, and all of the things that I think are misrepresenting our people or misrepresenting our culture. I'm here for it. And I'm not afraid to talk about the difficult things that nobody wants to talk about. And I'm really tired of hearing people talking about the fact that nobody is talking about these things when these are all things that I've been talking about some time now. I'm over it. You got any questions? Let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to shut this conversation down and proceed to the rest of my night. And you know what I mean? I haven't eaten anything today. I am running on fumes at this very moment. So yeah, any questions, let me know. And I appreciate you guys in the chat room. I didn't really get to go through and read any of the questions, but I'm with you guys. Dre, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much, brother, for the support. And yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here to take the blows that come with, what comes with talking like this, but it needs to be said. And so that's what we're here for. Any questions, family, let me know. They want the men to be women because only they're men. People classified as white can be men. That's what I believe. Okay, that's a way to look at it. That's one vantage point. Let me see. When a woman with a voice, when is a woman with a voice going to speak? Yeah, for real. Remember what Neely Fuller said? I don't want to repeat it because it's graphic. What were the views you were talking about that you feel unsupported about? This is one thing. This topic in particular, the fact that I've been talking about holding women accountable and the promiscuity and the promotion of hoe culture in our culture. I've been talking about that 15 years. The fact that I've been very prominent in my research and in my focus about the Jim Jones juice, and the fact that that was the pandemic in 2020 was a very intentional and strategic thing that has led to a lot of suffering worldwide in all people, not just Black people. The white lines in the sky and the poisoning of our upper atmosphere. What I talked about, Tyrone Hayes' research and all of the other information pertaining to the pills in the water and the changing of the hormonal makeup, which is changing the male anatomy and changing the female anatomy. About the promotion of the homosexual agenda in news media and popular culture, about the feminizing of men and the representation of an unrighteous, wicked energy in terms of Black men in particular, about the lack of intellectual focus, about the lack of support of people like myself who have been very intellectually focused. We've been complaining about DEI and they're stripping history textbooks, and I wrote a whole history textbook, and my people don't support me, and the culture doesn't support me in that. I could go on. That's got to be Atlanta or Texas because I never seen nothing like that in Chicago whatsoever. So let me tell you, okay, wait, it is, if it is, it's somebody's relative, and they're always with the women, never with the men. Groups stay apart. So let's not make this, I don't even want to make that point. There is a very large culture of LGBTQ in Chicago, and I found a couple of years ago, there was a TV show that was based in Chicago that was centered around this culture. And in this TV show, thank you so much, Zalinda. Is that the Zalinda I know? Is that Zalinda? Let me know. Or is that another Zalinda? I know a Zalinda. But there was this show that was centered around that culture. And when I tell you, and again, this is not about the show being about the LGBT community, but in the show, they were bragging about see, this is the thing that bothers me. Why are you as a lesbian woman bragging about turning straight women out? That's a psychosis to me. Why are you as a gay man, trans man, whatever, bisexual, why are you bragging about, why are you getting off on turning straight men out? That's a psychosis to me. So in this show that was based in Chicago, it was a whole series on YouTube. They were bragging about stuff like this, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm watching it, and you know what I mean? I just, it's a psychosis to me. I don't like it. I'm not here for it. Stay on your side of the tracks. Go deal with men who are attracted to men. Go deal with women who are attracted to women. Go deal with bi-curious women. Go deal with bisexual women. Go deal with bi-curious men. Go deal with bi-curious bisexual men. Leave us out of that shit. Stop making it seem like, come one, come all. Stop playing with us. Stop playing with me. And this is how we can establish respect. This is how we can respect your life. We can respect your way of life. Again, you guys think that we're sitting around pondering, biting our fingernails, trying to figure out what's happening in your culture, what's happening in your world. And I can guarantee you that we are not. There's too much real shit happening in the world. There's wars going on. Somebody just said in the chat room that a 1-year-old child just got pew-pewed. There's real shit going on in the world. Gas is, well, it's like $5 plus now. Gas was like $6.50 on. Trust me, the last thing on my mind is what's happening in your life. Leave us out of it. Leave me alone. Stop trying to Charlemagne with his goofy ass. He's either gay or one McDonald's cheeseburger away from it. He just needs a little bit of tweaking in his hormones if it hasn't already happened yet, where he's about to come out with his thong on. All women are bisexual. No, we're not. And just because I'm passionate about this doesn't mean I secretly like women. No, I'm passionate about it because it's not enough people talking about this shit. I'm passionate about it because I'm tired of hearing this weird shit. I'm tired of weirdos trying to speak for random, regular people like me that are just trying to live my life. Leave me out of that shit. I like men. I'm attracted to men. I think men are beautiful representations when they are in their right mind of the Most High. You're never going to hear me say I don't like men because I'm a real woman. You see how that works? And you're never going to hear a real man sitting up on podcasts and, you know what I mean, and making all of his content and his whole storyline being anti-woman. There's something wrong with you, bro. Some of these guys are psychologically gay. Maybe they just have sex with women to appease their, you know what I mean, their sexual proclivities, but they don't actually like women. And quiet as kept, a lot of you brothers, straight brothers, are supporting black men who don't like women. I've tangled with these guys over the years a few times. It's just a fact. Years ago, around 2015, you need to talk in Oakland. I think I did a talk in Oakland. I think it was the Hieroglyphic Studio. Do you still do those? I purchased one of your books then. Yes, I did do that event in the Hieroglyphic Studios. And the last event I did was here in LA. I haven't really done any events outside of that. I've really kind of slowed down from that because I've been focused on other things. But yeah, eventually I will be back in my speaking bag. Right now, I'm in my content bag because, you know, I feel like it's time. I feel like it's necessary. I said Satan came from behind the curtain in 2020, and he did, and they did, and it did, right? And so the louder the wickedness gets, the louder the weird shit gets, the louder the lack of women who are balanced gets, the more vocal I know that I need to be. And so that's just kind of where I'm at with it now. But yeah, eventually I'll definitely be doing events again, and I'll definitely be coming back to Oakland. That's my hometown, so I'm never going to be too far away from that. I have a theory that either gender that fails at relationships into their 30s start to become bitter and grow opinions that make them undateable, and it makes them repressed. Facts. I agree with that. And I think that's a big reason why there is a lot of anti-woman energy, especially when women get to a certain age. And I'm at that age now where I see, like, I was never hyper focused on aging, right? A lot of women are, but I was never hyper focused about it. And like, once you turn that 40 curve and you start to see how many men talk negatively about women, like, oh, you can't do this anymore. You don't have this value anymore. You don't have this anymore. Like, bruh, again, we're not thinking about you guys. We're not sitting around wanting to be picked or to be chosen. I think the real thing is that women really start to come into their real powerful sense of self in their 40s. We stop making everything about everybody else, and we really start to step into our own and our power and realize who we really truly are. And you guys don't like that. There's nothing I can't do at 46 that I couldn't do at 25. Do I want to have another child now? No. Could I if I wanted to? Absolutely. I'm in better shape right now than I was in my 20s. So it's just this very anti-woman once women get to a certain age, and it's as a culture and as a society, this is when we should be bigging women up more. This is when we should be like, okay, now you're in your wisdom. Now help us to figure this out. Help us to teach our women, help us to get wisdom, help men to figure out, you know, how to, it's just weird. It's weird all across the board. So yeah, I just, you know what I mean? That's how I see it. I love women always and forever, especially strong women like you. Thank you very much. I received that. Not enough people have the right strategy. You really do need to be compatible in your personality and values, and not enough people put that before the superficial or survival-based ideas. Facts. Great comment, great perspective. Thank you guys so much for joining me. All of the information is in the caption if you want to work with me or reach out to me or check my website. You see my Cash App information, super chats, super stickers, all the things are welcome. I gave you guys 2 hours and 20 minutes of my time, and I also said some things that I know aren't being said that need to be said, so I appreciate the reciprocity and the support, and I will see you beautiful people very soon. Peace and love.